Donna Adelson's biggest plot, darkest plot. A lot of people have been surprised to learn about a plot to harm Robert Adelson, her son, okay? So today we are going to dig into whether she actually tried, what we know about her possibly trying to harm Robert and all that. And then we will also look at more about Robert Adelson, okay, being the lone member of the Adelson family with no involvement to the Dan Markel murder plot, while his mother, brother, and sister, they're all either implicated, indicted, or entangled in the case, right? But he is not. So Robert has lived, or must be living, under this heavy weight of his family's name, right? So what does life look like for Robert today? And the stigma, the shame, endless association with, one of Florida's most famous crimes, right? So we're going to compare that, and that's going to be fun. We're going to compare that to other crimes I pulled up where there is like a surviving family member that is suffering with that stigma, some even being ashamed of the last name that they carry. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then finally, I'm going to take your questions live. So that should be tons of fun. Before we get started, please make sure you're thumbs up on this channel, on this video, and give me a comment below. I love to hear from you all. You guys know, if you've been on my video uploads, I'm periodically checking all day, and I love talking to y'all. I really do. It's so fun for me, and we're all here for the same reason. And we just love true crime, and we love this case, and we're looking for justice for Dan Markel. So just keep those comments coming. If you have any ideas you want me to look into, I'm totally down with that. So, all right. So let's first look at the allegations to harm Robert Adelson. Now, again, many of you guys, I mentioned it the other day, and you guys were like super surprised to hear about this. I mean, some of you know, right? But there really was something out there. So let me pull up the article first so you guys I could just show it to you, and then I'll kind of recap what it's really saying. But it's on Court TV. Okay, let me put my glasses on. It's on Court TV, and it's posted at 11:08 a.m. on May 9th, 2025. That is not exactly where the exact time that article came out. It's just they must have reissued it or something on May 9th. So so I'm going to recap it because I don't want to read through all the repeat stuff that we already know, right? So there were affidavits, okay, that were presented, and Donna's defense team was claiming that those affidavits were misleading or false. Okay, specifically, they argue that the affidavits misrepresented conversations that were going on between Donna and Harvey. But in the affidavits, prosecutors allege that Donna and Harvey were using a cell phone / watch to talk about plans to harm Robert Adelson, Catherine Magbanua, and the mother of a jailhouse informant. Okay. They provided this as new discovery on April 7th, 2025, which included investigative work and, get this, wiretaps. There are wiretaps that the prosecution are saying, and let me move this up, that they are saying she and Harvey are talking about harming Robert Adelson. The defense at that time pushed back, saying that the affidavits were lies, and then on the manner of how the wiretaps were obtained. Anyway, what's amazing to me is that they were never shown in court, and I don't know why. I don't know why. But it is pretty compelling information. And now, at what point will we be able to get access to those wiretaps? I mean, with Charlie And even the other criminal out of Leon County, Wade Wilson, it was very easy to access the wiretap calls from Leon County Jail. Once you go off to prison, you're not going to get really calls. But in the Leon County Jail, there are calls that can be obtained. So I'm hoping to try to get them myself, or somebody will come out with them and put them out, and then we could live stream them. We'll watch them on that channel, of course, and then we could live stream them here. So if there is any misconception or anybody confused about that, you don't need to be anymore, because she literally was that desperate to take out her own son. And it's really, really disgusting. And I cannot imagine how she lives with herself. I cannot imagine how she sleeps at night, right? I mean, really. So in return, though, nothing happens with the wiretaps. They never get used. Again, I don't know why, but he comes and he testifies. And I want to talk a little bit about that. The irony here is so obvious to me. The very testimony that Donna allegedly sought to suppress or avoid, okay, is now or became part of the most critical portion of her trial. Because I really do think that, and we've heard the jurors talk that have come out, that Robert was a huge deal to them as to why they convicted her. I mean, to have your own son get up and testify against you, it doesn't get more credible than that, right? How do you guys, is there anybody here that did not know this information? Yeah, and I don't know if everybody probably heard Robert Adelson was like, what? But it wasn't only Robert. It was Catherine McBanoa. They wanted to shut her up. And the mother of some other, again, you don't even hear anything once you hear Robert Adelson. You don't even hear anything else. It's your own flesh and blood. Checking out your comments here. Let's see. Fire Rabbit says, I feel so much sympathy for Robert. I can't imagine growing up in a family full of narcs while he's the only one with common human decency. Agreed. K-Love says they have tablets in prison. Right, but I don't think that it says you can easily get copies of those wiretap calls the way you can when you're in a county jail. Donna Adelson should turn on Wendy and Harvey. They are a team. The last two teammates should be charged with murdering Dan Markel. Is that because you saw Wendy giving her precious dad a little hug and I think a kiss on the way out of the courtroom? Brenda? Well, there you go, girlfriend, because it's true. It's Court TV is probably one of the most credible sources to get your information. But it's aside from that, you can go and pull up the April 2025, April 7th motion hearing. Go ahead and listen to it. It is, it's a lot of those motion hearings are really super boring, but so I'm not going to, pull it up because it's annoying. But go ahead when you have time to take a listen and you can hear them bringing it up. Right. He did. Absolutely spoke the truth. And we're going to talk about that in a second. I wanted to just, go over a little bit. I'm not going to play anything. I'm just, because we've all seen it. I have a video up on Robert Adelson. Take a listen to that. I want to just wrap it all up and tie it into this alleged wiretap that Georgia Kappelman says exists, and just tie it all together. Yeah. Uh-huh. No wonder Robert could not look at that thing, Peter said. Oh, I love this. Yes, Bonnie says he should change his last name to Markel. Yeah, but you know what's odd? You can absolutely get prison calls. Amazingly True 62 says, but there's a ton of channels out there that they get these wiretap calls probably way quicker than I can. And why don't they have them? So they must be an issue, or maybe the call has not been available. Sometimes there's a delay, like in Charlie's wiretap calls and in Wade Wilson's, he's out of Leon County too. Those wiretap calls were delayed. It's like, I think they don't release them until a certain amount of time. And the wiretap calls where Harvey and Donna are talking about harming Robert Adelson, they were much more recent, so they're probably not available yet, and I'm sure somebody is going to be all over it like flies on a rib roast. Is there anyone in Donna's life she hasn't trying to put out a hit on? I think the desperation, the panic, the thought of being in jail for the rest of her life and knowing the information Robert has. And keep in mind, guys, when Robert, everybody, all witnesses that come forward to testify, at some point behind closed doors or through motions, they try to sneak in as much as information that they have. And then the defense has a chance to say, well, I don't want to let that in. I don't want Robert to say this and everything. So there's things that Robert probably could not testify to that we don't know about. But what he was able to testify to was just, incredible. He really nailed her. Hey, Kylie, how are you? Okay, so remember, when he testified, he came in through a separate door. He came in like at a door that if you're looking at Judge Everett to the right, there was some sort of VIP back entrance, right? He comes in through that door. Okay, so it suggests protective measures. It could be also to reduce the media exposure and avoid direct confrontation with his mother. He would have had to walk by his mother. Think about the fact that Harvey was sitting in that front row there. He would have had to walk by Harvey. But the other thing, and I think it's even bigger, is that remember when Wendy got to the courthouse, was she on the same day? Well, I don't know if she was on the same day, but because they were close together, it is possible that they were both in the courthouse at the same time waiting for their turn because they do like to keep everybody available and close by. So I would not be surprised if that was a huge reason there, because we know that Wendy came in with this entourage. She had 8 or 9 people with her and they were surrounding her. She had her big old bully, Morgan Honeycutt with her and a bunch of friends. And I would think that that would have been a point of contention, to have to be even in a hallway or near the bathrooms or some sort of, conference area where he could possibly run into her. And I would think that, he would want to avoid that at all costs. How about any danger? Is it possible that Robert feared for his life? Because now that we know for a fact that they have something tangible, a wiretap, saying that Harvey and Donna were talking about harming Robert, that's enough reason alone, right? I would fear for my life. How do we know that Harvey, who's very, very alleged to have a lot of connections with people like other judges. They know Peter Weinstein. They know a lot of people. They're not, you guys know where I'm going, right? Again, this is just an idea. It's speculation, but we all know that Harvey knew a lot of people. And I just would think that maybe Robert was really concerned for his safety, Okay. So the the sensitivity of being in the position he was in, and then testifying against your own mother, and it being one of the most high profile cases is just, that's really understandable to me. So this was the first time that he ever took the stand in any trial whatsoever. I'm sorry, I got something going off here. And, he was, be clear, they didn't even want to call him for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, the defense never wanted to call Robert. It wasn't like they were going to ever have him on their witness list. This was the prosecution only. So, all right. So, notable, shocking statements from Robert. Any moments that I can pick out to me that stand out the most? Thank you, guys. You're so sweet. Okay. So Robert said that after Dan Markel's murder, he had discussions with the family about who would have done this, and that, he testified that it wasn't a subject of discussion for Donna. And she would say that when asked if he seemed like, if he was acting curious, she would respond with, I don't want to discuss this, basically. And he thought that to be very, very strange. And then he described the silence and avoidance in the family, even when the arrest happened in 2016. His parents wouldn't openly talk about that. He recalled a phone call with his mother where Donna abruptly ends the call after he mentions the arrest again. So another thing is, hold on, I got my notes here. Oh, he did confirm on the stand that in the beginning, at one point, she was very much heavily engaged in their lives, Robert, Charlie, and Wendy, but especially Wendy's, and that Donna's opinions of Dan Markel had shifted pretty drastically. And what he heard about Markel being bad only emerged after Wendy moved out. So he was pretty much kept in the dark, but he notes on the phone with her, and this is so bad, that at the time that Donna and Wendy were planning their Pearl Harbor moment with Dan Markel, where they're going to let him know that she doesn't want to be with him anymore, they planned it strategically. Talk about the mother being so overly involved, right? And planned the rental that she would go to on Aqua Ridge, planned that they were making sure that Dan would be away and that she would make the call at just the right time and everything like this. And when she's explaining this to Robert Adelson on the phone, she's giddy and laughing about it. Who gets a thrill over a terrible asking for a divorce? But then not only that, it's your grandchildren's father. So it's not only affecting Wendy and Dan living together anymore, but it's also thinking about the fact that the kids will not have their father living with them anymore. Because we all know the fact is, in divorces, judges lean towards the mother. Custody usually always goes towards the mother anyway. I mean, even if she hadn't secretly moved out while he was in New York City, eventually, a judge would have said, well, they belong with their mother. You know what I mean? So Harvey was giving, oh yeah. Okay. So, that is really, really, really damning for a mom to just get her kicks out of seeing your daughter and your son-in-law go through a painful divorce. I mean, it's just, what kind of person are you that you would do something like that? Okay. Also, Robert had said that his mom told him, do not talk to the police. And at that point, the FBI had already contacted him. So he said, I already did. And her reply was, well, you don't know anything anyway. You guys remember that one? That was pretty bad. Horrible. Okay. And then the picture of Jeff Lacasse. So at one point he notes that Wendy sends him a picture of Jeff Lacasse with the 2 kids and makes some statement about the fact, well, mom and dad do not know about him and don't say anything to them. And like, who does that? Who does that? Right? If you're not getting ready to have a murder happen, she's allegedly involved in murdering her husband and arranging this within your family. And it's just really, really odd that Donna knew exactly who Jeff Lacasse was. And then she contacts Robert, who she barely talks to. She's had estrangements with Robert herself. I mean, you would think that that would be the last thing she'd do is like contact her brother, who she barely talks to, right? So it is odd that he would get a picture. And he said that she had never, ever sent me pictures of boyfriends in the past, ever. And it just tells you just how much she is involved in something. That alone tells you that she's involved in something, right? He describes his mother as terribly controlling, heavily involved in the kids' lives. Robert said Donna initially spoke positively of Dan and only began to speak negatively of him after this Pearl Harbor moment, right? So, I don't know, guys. I think Robert is in a very unique situation that you don't see often, which is going to lead me to the next thing that we're going to talk about. That's my dog, Ruger. Sorry, guys. Big 100-pound lab. I'd let him in here, but then he'd want to leave and come back and leave and come back. And then he would, knock. He actually knocks on the door with his paw. So it's hilarious. So anyway, so what was the defense pushback on to Robert Adelson? Well, they tried to say that Robert's estrangement from the family meant his perspective was limited. How could he really know much, and how much should this jury take him seriously, considering he hasn't really been around their circle, right? They also pointed out that he wasn't living in Tallahassee during the crucial period, and implying he may not have had full visibility into the actual dynamics of the family. So, I mean, that's probably the best defense they could have put up there, because, I mean, what else are they going to say? I mean, Jackie Fulford and this Zellman guy had like no case whatsoever. So it doesn't surprise me that they would say something like that. Okay, I'm going to check in with you guys for a couple minutes here and then answer some questions, but then we're going to do something real fun. I pulled up some cases that remind me a lot of the Adelson dynamic, and where there's children left behind, most of them adults, that are tainted by the last name or the crime. And not every single case is exactly identical to this. I mean, there is a mother and son case in here. There's a father-son case, but it all has some sort of commonality with Robert Adelson, and I wanted to bring it up to you guys because I think it's really important to talk about what this guy could be going through, and we're all going to pray that he has a loving family with his in-laws are loving to him and everything, and I'm assuming that's what's keeping him afloat. But he must need therapy, someone to talk to about this, just to get through the reality of this tragedy. It's just absolutely horrendous. So all right, you guys liking the video? Make sure you like, keep your comments coming. Why was the Pearl Harbor event necessary from Wendy's perspective? Right. Well, because I think Wendy is devious. I think that she gets a kick out of things. And it really, it we know this because we've heard of other examples where she like makes little jokes and Jeff Lacasse is really the big window into her about how her behavior is manipulative and, she's always like, it's like a passive aggressive joke. You know what I mean? She likes passive aggressive jokes. So from her perspective, I think that it wasn't enough to just wait for him to get home from New York City and sit down with him and say, listen, I've packed some things. I'm going to leave with the kids, but I wanted to, we've been married for X amount of years, and I want to give you the time of day and the respect to explain to you why I'm leaving. And, that would be what a normal person would do, right? Well, I do think that she wanted it to be some grand exit. And I think she wanted to, drive the knife in a little harder and make him suffer. That's what I think. I think Wendy has a lot of demons going on in that crazy head of hers. Yeah, and I think there's a very dysfunctional relationship between Charlie and Wendy. I think that the way he spoke to her when he was in the hot tub is just very bizarre. It's not normal. Most people would not talk to their sister about their escapades overseas, especially with young girls, really, really young girls. I mean, I would think that your sister and your mother would be the last two people that you would tell that to, right? So what kind of relationship did they have that he felt that he was comfortable enough to say something like that to her? All right. Rhonda says, hi, Rhonda, how are you? My prediction is by the end of the year, she'll be indicted. I don't know. I keep changing my mind on this, because I really thought, guys, that as soon as Donna was taken out of that courtroom with a guilty verdict, I thought we were looking at 2 or 3 days. I thought that she wouldn't even be able to leave Tallahassee, and that is not what happened. Right. And I hold my ground about the fact that I know that Detective Isom is retired, but the fact that he came out with that interview to me feels that if Wendy was going to be arrested, that would be kind of tainting the case by him talking. So it really, really bothers me. Now I'm praying, guys. I'm praying that is not what happened. That's not what happens. Because it really bothers me. Hi, American Nana. Hope you can hear my voice, girl. So yeah, you're listening on replay right now, so you're a little bit behind us, but yeah, Donna tried to have Robert harmed. Was looking into it. Hi, Kristen. Her calling him gibbers and then insisting it's a silly name. She is stomach turning. Her and her fake eyes and hair extensions and plastic surgery. She's a total narcissist. I know. And do you remember when she was on the stand? I think it was the second trial. They were like, oh, how do you spell gibbers, right? Because she testified that she had it in her phone. And she said something along the lines of, oh, I don't know how to, whatever. And then they pointed out that she spelled it Jibbers. And like Everett said something to her and like totally shut her down. It was really funny. She also called him an STD. Oh, what a horrible name, right? Okay, question from Carol. Hi, how are you? Why is it Why is it several bigwig attorneys are saying it's highly unlikely Wendy will be charged? That is upsetting. She needs to be held accountable like all of them. So, Carol, just as many as there are people saying that she won't get charged are also people saying that she will. So that you've got a handful of legitimate good attorneys that are saying that she will. Look at Carl Steinbeck. I love Carl Steinbeck. I think he's amazing. And I think he's hit the nail on the head. And I'm always like checking in to hear if he still thinks Wendy's going to get arrested, because I'm like, please. So he's a bigwig in my opinion. And I think he's very credible and a really good attorney. And a lot of common sense the man has as well. So, but then you've got other attorneys, you're right, that are saying no. I don't know. Nobody really knows for sure. Nobody does. I think the person that knows the most is Jack Campbell. So why don't you guys just send him an email? Are you guys liking the video? Keep your comments coming, guys. All right, so Kylie says it's 50-50. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking ISOM talking shouldn't affect the case because everything is recorded or documented in the investigation. Well, I sure hope so. Hey, Nettie. Yeah, she totally lied about that. Right. Where did we hear that? I forget. This case is so huge. I forget where certain, but I do know that. Was it the writing class? Yes. I think it was the writing class lesson. She had said that she didn't love him at all. That poor guy wasted so many years on that woman. The only good that came out of that were his 2 kids. Yeah. So Kimberly Laffner says, I don't think Steven, Dan's attorney, will stop until Wendy's behind bars. Yeah, I think he's going to probably start trying to play a bigger role than we know. How great would that be, right? I bet you he spends all his free time seeing what he can contribute to continuing to get justice. Jill Argo says Dave Arenberg, who's a well-connected Florida attorney, says she'll be arrested within 90 days. Ooh, wouldn't that be awesome? By the way, let me just say this. Where is it? Give me one. Ooh, spicy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super chat. Wendy Adelson reminds me of Nicole Kessinger. They both should have been interviewed by female detectives. Ooh, Nicole Kessinger. That's a fun one to talk about, guys. We should do a live on Nicole Kessinger and the Watts case. I just always think that if I do the Watts case or talk about anything to do with the Watts case, it's just old news now. And I don't know how many people would be interested in that. But there are some cases that I could talk about over and over and over. I'm going to say them right now. You ready? This one, Denise Williams and Brian Winchester. The West Memphis 3, Jodi Arias, Chris Watts and Shanann Watts, Scott and Lacey Peterson, okay, and John Bonet. Those are my favorites. If you're all interested in any of those, put your vote in here right now. Which case would you like to do a live on? Because I would love to do one of those if you guys are really interested. Well, I'm always going to highlight scripture, Rhonda. So thank you so much. She said, let's all pray for Dan's lawyer, Stephen. And Romans 4:17 says, call those things that are not as though they were. Thank you very much. I love that. Jesus first, always. Oh, whoa. Wait. Teresa, I'm trying to read what you said. Hold on, let me scroll up here. Teresa. I see a comment here about her being there at the time of the shooting. Okay. Did somebody on here say something about thinking that Wendy was there at the time of the shooting? I'm just curious. Hey, Lola. So, yeah, Nicole Kessinger, there's not a lot on her because she disappeared, right? She hightailed it. But I do think that there are some connections with Nicole Kessinger from the Watts case and Wendy Adelson. And what I mean by that is not, no, they don't know each other. They're not connected that way. But what I mean is that she was doing a lot of these deep dive searches in Google on Shanann and wedding dresses and all that other stuff. Kind of reminds me how Wendy was searching for Amy's information, Jonathan Adler, Amy Adler's husband. I mean, really? Like, okay, stalker, right? But check it out. She was researching student-teacher porn. Why? Why was Wendy looking up, or let me say corn. Why was Wendy looking up student-teacher porn? I mean, really. Oh, guys. Somebody mentioned Corey Richins here. Jocelyn and I are doing an episode on Corey Richins this Friday night, so make sure you join us for that. Okay, let me fire down here. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Cementelli case. Somebody said Jodi Arias. Have you been following the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case? No, I know nothing about that case, but I'll totally take a peek at it for you. That case, the Watts case, is so riveting to me. But, you know, it's over now, and he's where he needs to be. But, man, how chilling the details of that crime. Lacey Peterson, that's an oldie but goodie for me, and I always go back to it. Oh, Casey Anthony. I love to listen to the trial of Casey Anthony. I mean, just unbelievable that girl got off. Yes, footage of her at a funeral, Kylie. Nicole Kessinger was at a funeral a couple months back, and it was caught, and somebody put it out there, went completely viral, and like, you know, everybody was talking about the Watts case for a couple days when that happened. Breeze Coyote says Scott Peterson is innocent. Well, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a lot of people that agree with you. But what I will say to you is that I don't think he's necessarily innocent, but I do think he deserves a new trial. I do. I don't think his trial was fair. And it needs to be redone, and then he'll probably be found guilty, and then, you know, be put away, and then the whole thing, he'll stop saying that he didn't have a fair trial, because he really didn't have a fair trial. Okay, Debbie Matthews. So I think somebody was talking before about Wendy being there at the time of the shooting. No, Louis said that he saw her coming down the street with the two kids, right? Jacqueline Schmidt says Jackie Saint Martin. You mean Jackie Saint Germain, I think is what you mean. Thinks Wendy was there at the time of the shooting. Well, she was dressed like she was like, doing yard work, right? And I don't think she was going to that lunch that day. I think she set it up so that she had a place to say she was going, and she would have like a busy day, right? She'd have a busy day. And then I guess what Jackie is insinuating is that maybe she went to the crime scene with the idea of, finding him. Or maybe Jackie's saying, and maybe she could clarify this the next time I hear from her, that maybe she thought that she came there earlier and was, hiding in the bushes somewhere? I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about that. I'll have to ask her what she means. Guys, I would kill to have an interview with crazy Jodi Arias. How amazing would that be? I don't think prisoners can give you interviews like a YouTuber an interview, right? But heck, if she agreed to that, I would literally go. I'd take a flight to Arizona to get that interview. But I don't think you're allowed to check in, go through the guards and all that, sit down and film or even record on a voice recorder an interview. I don't think you can. If that was the case, wouldn't every YouTuber, wouldn't STS be going to jails and talking to prisoners? I don't know. It's a really good question. Oh, by the way, guys, before I move on to my next section, because I have a good stuff I want to talk to you guys about with these other cases that remind me of the Adelsons. But before I do that, I wanted to make sure you guys knew that I just put up an upload on the life, childhood, and all the girls that Charlie, all his relationships. I did a whole video on Charlie Adelson and I just put it up. So make sure you guys are watching that video, comment on it, like it. It really helps. I want to get the video out there. And I so appreciate you guys, all the support you guys are giving me. All right, I'm scrolling down here because I'm way behind on the comments. Let me see. Hi, Susan. Welcome to Moms for Justice. Thank you so much. She says, I am obsessed with this case too. Something about this case, probably because Donna acts like an entitled woman, and entitlement drives me crazy. I think it's a riveting case for a lot of women over 40. I know that's weird, but because we all know what it's like to be a mother, and for some women to be a grandma. And it's just riveting when you see somebody act like this. It's not your typical grandma behavior, right? So I think a lot of women over 40 are just completely enamored by Donna. And I don't mean enamored with what she did, but I mean just enamored with understanding her and studying her, because it's we are women and we just don't have that in us. We're not born with any of that evil normally. And it's where did that come from, right? Right, ladies? Let's see. All right, I'm scrolling all the way down here because I'm way behind. I'm sorry, guys. I just didn't want to miss anybody. Okay, so I also, Dee Dee Lee, I just put up a video on Courtney Clenny. Make sure you check it out. I'm pretty proud of that video, so make sure you check that one out too. But yeah, I'll be doing lives on her, especially as it gets closer to her trial. That's going to be, guys, that's going to be a juicy one. Courtney Clenny's going to be a juicy one. Hi, Marsha. Thank you for subscribing to Moms for Justice. I so appreciate it. You just don't get into your children's lives, right? Yeah. So I have kids that are borderlining on adults pretty soon. I mean, they're, I have an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old, so they're not little anymore. But, I can't wait. I'm already thinking, I used to say when I was younger, oh, I would never want to be called a grandma because then you feel old, right? Well, now I'm I can't wait to be a grandma. I can't wait. I can't wait to get my hands on those babies. But I'll be darned if I'm going to like meddle in their business and tell my daughter like what to do and what to tell her husband in an argument and all that. Like, no way. Like, you're out of your mind. Donna needed to get her own life. Like, I mean, join a racket club or something. Why didn't you like, go out for lunch with like a bunch of ladies and keep yourself busy? Was she that bored with Harvey that she had to just meddle in Wendy's business? I don't know. Thank you so much, Denise. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot more on her. And we're going to do Corey Richins. I'm doing a live with Jocelyn on Friday. You guys all remember Jocelyn, right? If you're new to the channel, I do have a co-host that joins me on some of the evening podcasts. And we've gotten some heat a little bit about the fact that we have difference of opinions on the Dan Markel case. But actually, she has since shifted her opinion a little bit. But she's still, I don't know, she's still not 100% convinced. So we've gotten some heat on our shows together. But we'll be on Friday about Corey Richins. Okay, so guys, Donna Adelson, okay, with her corruption and her attempt, as we all know now, to possibly try to harm Robert Adelson. I wanted to look into other cases that reminded me of the Adelson family, where there is a survivor in the family that is left with the mess of their family, left with maybe the shame of the last name. So let's talk about the first one. My first one I want to talk about is Sante Kimes. Sante Kimes is a famous case. It's an old case from 1998. Sante Kimes had a son named Kenneth Kimes Jr. Now, this case reminds me more of the relationship between Donna and Charlie. Okay. They were con artists. They were grifters. They ended up murdering. They committed fraud, arson, slavery, and theft, okay? In 1998, they killed wealthy socialite Irene Silverman in New York City, okay? They stole her mansion. That was their main goal, was to steal her money and her mansion in New York City. They never found Irene's body, from what I have been told. But the dynamic of this family, like, she was manipulative, Sante Kimes, just like Donna Adelson, domineering, controlling of her son, Kenneth. She groomed Kenneth from a very young age to assist in her cons and later in, obviously, violent crimes. So he ended up being both her accomplice and her victim, and basically trapped her. She was, unable to escape her. It's just unbelievable, this case. You guys should read it, look into it. They did some other things. I think they traveled to now this I'm not sure about, but if I remember correctly, they also went to California or Florida, and they were stealing people's identities, stealing people's money. I mean, they were just absolutely disgusting people. And the thing was, this was all her idea. This is what she wanted. And he only became the person he is because of his mother. And he wanted the approval and the love from his mother. He worshiped this woman. So it reminds me so much of Donna and Charlie Adelson, because, ladies, if we wanted to, at an early age, our children are so vulnerable. They want mama's okay. They want mama's approval. And it's very dangerous when you think about how a mom can truly twist and manipulate her children if she wanted to. I mean, because the last person you want to lose in your life is your mother, right? So that is why I have some sympathy for Charlie Adelson. He's a murderer. He belongs exactly where he is. So please do not twist what I'm saying here. But Charlie reminds me of this guy, Kenneth Kimes, because you do anything for your mom. Anything, right? Okay, so this brings me to this one here. Oh gosh, guys, wait when you hear this one. All right. The Diane Stout case. Do you guys know about Diane Stout? So I just pulled up, somebody had made this picture. I wanted to get all their pictures on there so you could see. This woman. All right, this is bad, guys. This is really bad. So Diane, who you can see all the way to the left there in that picture with her daughter, that's her daughter Rachel with her. Diane, with the help of her daughter Rachel, poisoned her family members one after another with antifreeze. Okay? The first victim was the husband, Mark, and he was poisoned and killed. All right? And then Sean, this is really sad, 26 years old, poisoned and killed, targeted because Diane saw him as a burden. He was a slob that was still living in the house. Okay, so who's got that son that's like in their 20s and has not figured out his life yet? I don't have any sons, but I know I have friends that have sons that have not gotten their act together. Maybe they went to college, maybe they're in, they went on to work multiple jobs and they just can't afford to live on their own. So they're still living with mom and dad, right? Well, I'm of the mind of, with my kids, I told my kids, no matter what, home is home, always. I know parents that are like, when you're 18, you're going to get the heck out of here. I'm not like that. I'm going to encourage you to leave the nest and be responsible. But I don't care. I'm sorry. They're my children. They're always welcome back home. If they're struggling, please come home. It's fine. Well, not this lady. Not this lady. Diane saw Sean, who you can see all the way to the right, as this huge burden. It didn't help. It didn't help that he was one of these sons that still was kind of messy. He was a slob, didn't clean up after himself, didn't have a job, didn't put in any effort to try to, make some money to give his mother for rent, that kind of a thing. So after the husband gets poisoned, and nobody knows that the husband is poisoned at this point. They thought he died of natural causes or a heart attack or something like that. All of a sudden, now Sean is dead. Okay? Really. 26 years old. Okay? Poisoned and killed with the help of her own daughter, Rachel. That's really sick. Okay? Then, check this out. That wasn't good enough. Then, there's another daughter, Sarah. They went ahead. She was autistic or something. This is going to break your heart. She had some disabilities. And she tried to poison her, but she survived and ended up in rehab and wasn't able to talk. She had to relearn how to walk again because of this poisoning and all that. And finally, Rachel talked. The daughter that had been helping her all that time. She finally talked. And this woman is cold as ice, people. There are interviews of Diane Stout, and she is so cold. You should see her in these interviews where she's talking to the police. She's being interrogated, and she's like, oh, I should just do an episode on it, right? I should just do an episode on it. That would be awesome. So do you guys know this case? Because I'll tell you right now, she's sick. Yeah, Dee Dee. The daughter was, well, listen, I got to say this. I'm not saying the daughter's innocent here, but I think the daughter was, they were all being controlled by this woman. She was the matriarch. She was very controlling and manipulative. And I think maybe the daughter, Rachel, was well, I don't want to die. So I'm going to do whatever it is my mom tells me to do. It's the same thing as Charlie and Donna. I'm just going to do what my mom wants me, even though it's morally wrong. And she ended up helping out and turned against her mother, and said that she was forced to do it. So, but there's, a lot of crazies out there. Definitely. Okay. Oh, did I have it backwards, Queen? Oh, I had it backwards. All right, sorry about that. I was almost right. So it's the boy that was disabled. Okay, so Sean was disabled, and the girl, the daughter, Sarah, was the slob. Sorry if I got that backwards. I apologize. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about. Okay, so remember the movie At Close Range? This is based on a true story. So I have that. This one is more father and son, but it's still, unbelievably, some of the same dynamics are going on here, right? So the Johnston gang case. Now, the movie At Close Range is one of my favorite movies. I love it. But it was starring Sean Penn and Christopher Walken. And it's mostly correct and accurate to the true story, with the exception of the brother, which is Sean Penn's real brother, played the brother of his character in At Close Range. He gets killed. But let me tell you just real quick, the Johnson gang, the real Johnson gang, is Bruce Johnson Sr., who ran a rural Pennsylvania burglary and theft ring. And it included Johnston's own sons and relatives that were doing these crimes together. Okay. So anyway, the operation went beyond property theft and eventually turned to violence. And then family members became liabilities to the dad. And he actually put a hit out on his own son. That would be Johnson Jr. So it's like, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's just, how do you put a hit out on your own son, right? Same thing as Donna wanting to, you know what I mean? Because you weigh it, right? You weigh I'm on the, the evidence against me is piling up. I'm sitting in the county jail and it's all coming to a head, and I'm about, and now you hear that Robert, your son Robert, might come forward and testify. There's a desperation there, and you're weighing, who's more important, my son who I gave birth to, or my freedom? And I feel like for Donna to even open her mouth and say a peep suggesting to harm Robert at all is like, you've completely lost your marbles at this point, right? And the selfishness and the narcissism that comes with that you would actually sacrifice your own child. Now, I remember hoping for a while that if Wendy really had nothing to do with it, let's say Wendy really has nothing to do with it, right? And Donna knows that. And the way Donna loves Wendy so much, wouldn't Donna have just said, you know what, I'm in my 70s. I'm just going to go to prison for life anyway. I'm going to just come forward and take the blame for everything. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't she do that? I mean, I would think that would be something as a mother that I would do for my child. Right? Especially if I knew that Wendy had been suffering this long. Guys, this is under the suggestion that maybe if Wendy was innocent, this is what would happen. I don't think she's innocent. But let's say Wendy was. You're seeing her suffer. She's getting harassed. She's in the media. Everybody is talking about her in a negative light. And you are in your 70s and you have the ability to just say, you know what? If I plead guilty and I just tell everybody that I did all this and can I get the heat off of my daughter? She didn't do that. She didn't do that because she's a narcissist. She's in for herself. And the fact that you would have your own son, Ruth Markel said it best. You would have your own son try to commit a murder. It's sick. I see a lot of comments here from people who are joining, obviously, a lot earlier, so that's okay. Okay, so now another case I want to talk about. Teresa Knorr. Do you guys know the Teresa Knorr case? Oh gosh. This one also another bad one. She had 2 sons and she had 2 daughters, okay? And she was so evil. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She was very jealous of her own daughters, very jealous of their beauty. She wanted to be young again and did not like the fact that they were pretty and young, and she was locking them in the house, and she didn't want anybody to ever see them. She called them like whores, and she was like, you can't wear this, you can't go out of the house and wear this, and you're just a hooker and all this other stuff. And then they started locking them up. Check this out. So she was violent and abusive, and she ends up murdering Susan and Sheila, her daughters. And she did abuse her sons as well, but she arranged for her sons to help get rid of them and to participate in the abuse and murder of her daughters. Okay. Now, and I'm sorry. So Sheila, Susan, one of them actually is still alive. One of them was killed. She was like kept in a closet. She was fed like lard, mac and cheese or something like that. And again, I don't know this case all that well. I just know that it's got similarities to Donna Adelson's type of personality. One of the kids actually survives, one of the daughters, and she lived to talk about it. But the other one was killed. And then they like brought her in a box to like a wooded area and then burned her body. And the boys, the sons, took part in that. So it was really, 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 really sick. Instead of protecting her children, she treats them as, an extension of her rage and letting them join in with her and teaching. Because at these kids are young. You're teaching them to be criminals when you're a mother like this, right? No care in the world at all for your children and their future to let them do things like this for you. Like, how sick can you be? So anyway, her sons, Robert and Terry, they eventually testified against her. And now they live with trauma for the rest of their lives, and they have to know that they helped in the murder of their own sister. It's just really, really sick. So that's another one that is very much like Donna, in my opinion. All right, wait, look at this one. I've got over here Jeffrey Dahmer. Though Jeffrey Dahmer is not the same case at all. I understand that. But what I wanted to point out is look at to the left in this picture. That is David Dahmer. He's the brother of Jeffrey Dahmer. And here is a child that shares the same last name, or did. Because what I have heard is that since then, he's had to change his name. Lyle Dahmer, the father, he's no longer here with us anymore. He has passed away since then. But imagine being associated with the Dahmer family. Now, yeah, I realize that this case is a whole different animal from the Adelsons, but it doesn't change the fact that somewhere out there in this world is David Dahmer, or formerly David Dahmer, that has to wake up every day knowing that his brother was Jeffrey Dahmer, right? So in a smaller way, I'm sure in a much smaller way, Robert Adelson wakes up every day and has to, just get through the day, knowing that his mom is Donna Adelson, and his brother is Charlie Adelson, and his sister is Wendy Adelson, and even his father. I mean, how did Harvey, I don't know. How do you sit there in the courtroom when your son Robert is testifying, Harvey? He looked so cold. He looked so cold. There was no crack of a concerning parental style smile or anything from Donna or Harvey when he was up there, clearly slightly shaking as a leaf, concerned, worried, afraid to make eye contact. I just, my heart breaks for that boy, or man, should I say. And then, there are people out there like David Dahmer that probably don't ever want to answer questions about his brother, Jeffrey Dahmer. So How many people do you think now, after him being seen on TV, Robert Adelson, how many people do you think see him on the street or whatever in Walmart or Costco and walk up to him and say, "Hey, I saw you on TV, what's it like, or do you still talk to them? Do you talk to your sister still?" I mean, he probably just doesn't want to answer any questions at all, right? I would think not. Plus, I also think that his life is still possibly in danger, maybe? I don't know. Why is somebody saying, why is Robert so disliked in the family? Oh, you mean in general, like through the years, why was he such an outcast? Well, the story is, a lot of people know this, is that, he felt a lot of pressure when he went off to school. Like he kind of was like, in the spot that Wendy was in at the time that, he was leaving and going into medical school and all that. And they were constantly checking in on him and they were being very judgmental and controlling of Robert back then. And then he met a woman that he fell in love with that was not Jewish, as we all know. And Donna wasn't having it. And in so many words, the witch said to him, "It's either us or her." And Robert, was not strong enough in who he is to stand up to Donna at that time. So he didn't marry her right away because he ends up meeting another girl who is Jewish and approved by Donna. And he marries this other girl. And very quickly, he realizes this is not working out. I'm not in love with this woman. In fact, he talks about it on Over My Dead Body podcast about how he's so ashamed, not only about being with somebody that he didn't feel the same love for, but he also felt shame for her, for the girl he married. She didn't deserve that, right? And he admits that. And I just love that when people just, admit they're wrong and they're vulnerable. It's the best thing you can do for yourself is that, like, instead of just always trying to be like, "Oh, I did nothing wrong," or whatever, just admit your mistakes, be a good person, move on, and that's what he did. And I really heard a lot of compassion and sorrow and repentance out of him. So he does the right thing. It's a very hard thing. And he tells this woman, "I'm sorry, it was a mistake to marry you." And then he goes back and marries Haritha, which is the original girl he wanted to marry, who was of Indian descent, I believe it is. So after that, it's said that the Adelsons all of a sudden approved of the marriage at that point, and they even showed up at Haritha and Robert's wedding. But Wendy had indicated on the stand that there were still some problems, that even she had other reasons to be estranged from him, and there were other problems between Donna and Harvey and Robert that we don't know about. I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, she's a controlling witch. I mean, I would not be able to have a calm, collected relationship with Donna based on who she is. So I'm assuming that there were all sorts of stuff, like don't tell me what to do, and maybe her calling and being judgmental. I don't know. So why did they dislike him? Because he would not fall for their crap. That's why. And I'm sorry it took me forever to get to that answer, but it sounded like maybe you didn't know about the marriage to Haritha and all of that. And I wanted to give you guys some context in case you didn't know. All right. How are you guys doing? So, yeah, somebody said that Lynette's saying, I think maybe May 3rd that Jeff was married in 2017. I had heard from, what's his face? Carl Steinbeck had mentioned that he was not married. So, I don't know. I don't think Jeff ever got married. All right, so Debbie Martin said there was a traditional Indian wedding and then a Jewish wedding when they got married. Diet Pepsi drinker. Hi, how are you? Welcome to Moms for Justice. Even if Robert is established, I bet he wants to change his last name. Well, I do think that he's far enough away from, Tallahassee, where I bet there's a lot of people where because he's way north New York. I think he's by Albany. I mean, he's more high profile now. I mean, how many people in here? I mean, when you guys first hop onto my lives, I always hear Colorado, New York, hello from Florida, hello from Vegas. At this point, I think it's going to, you might be right that it might continue to get, especially this last year. I mean, it just became so high profile. So he probably would be better off changing his last name or maybe even taking her last name, right? His wife's last name. Yeah, like I personally, if I was Robert, and I'm not, but if I was Robert, I would be like, I am not going to change my name for anybody. I'm going to give it a good go and I'm going to make my name good again. You know what I mean? So that could be what he's planning on doing. I mean, I would want to at least try, and try to erase them at some point. But obviously, the trial just happened, so things are really heated right now, and it's very fresh in everyone's mind. But I don't know. If Wendy doesn't get arrested, guys, 5 years from now, are we still going to be talking about this? I probably will, but will we all be as interested in it? I mean, a lot of people might fall off and start, thinking that, okay, well, maybe she won't get arrested and this whole thing is over with. And then, life will get a little easier for Robert. He won't be as high profile anymore. American Nana says, my mom was a narcissist and she hated me. Well, she feared me because I knew her so well. And she told everyone I was a huge liar in case I ever said anything about her. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's horrible when somebody does not have a solid, good relationship with their mom. Yeah, I sure hope so. Debbie's saying Wendy will be arrested. This remains to be seen, right? Yeah, that would be weird to change your name, being a doctor. That would be really strange. Robert has probably made a good professional name for himself where he resides. Okay, so the Denver thing, we don't know for sure. It's definitely gone around. It's been something a lot of people have talked about. Her house in Texas was put up for rent, according to a lot of sources. But allegedly, she was moved to Colorado, or I don't know for sure if she has. I don't want to confirm something that we don't know. Okay, so what time is it? It's time to wrap up. And so I'm going to go on, don't forget Friday night with Jocelyn, we're going to do Corey Richins. I'll probably be on again either tomorrow or the next day. I've got a couple other things I would love to go over with you guys. Let me know. Wait, hold on. Let me know if there are any other cases that you want to either do a live on, which is a much different type of experience, because I put up a lot of video uploads as well, which they're deep dives. I like to get into the smaller sections of a case. So I do those, and then I have my live chats. Let me know if there's a topic that you want me to cover, whether it be a video or it is a live chat. Of course, I'll always keep on doing this case because this is the case I'm really passionate about right now. But I am working on Courtney Clenny. That's right around the corner. We've got Corey Richins. But I wouldn't mind diving back into an older case like I'm doing with Denise Williams and Brian Winchester, because there are a lot of similarities in those two Tallahassee cases. So anyway, it was so great to see you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you're subscribing and you like and share the video and keep your comments coming. I would love to hear from you. All right, guys, you have a beautiful, blessed day. Take care.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.